you get a chance to see all these different styles of people that do this for a living and what works for them, and then you can say, I'm going to try that for my particular style. Okay, there's no right or wrong here, because we all catch fish, we all have good days, we all have bad days. He has very lucky days. I don't know why, but no, he's kind of on fire right now. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up to questions. We got to keep it pretty brief because we got a lot of stuff to raffle off. And then when I cut it off, they're still going to be available that you go talk to them one-on-one. Okay, if you're kind of you're a beginner and you really don't want to ask what you might think is a stupid question, because most of these people in here are fish sturgeon, you can ask them after we break up and just say, hey, look, I don't know about this. I want ask the questions now. Now's your chance. You got 7 of us that fish them all the time. It's a great opportunity to any questions you have in your mind. You can get an opinion from all of us, and we probably might even say all have the same or the different answer to your question, and then you take it from there. And don't be shy. Drill them. Hit them hard. Especially the one on the end down there. He likes the top. So, with that said, everybody's here. What I like my captains do, when we hear a question, we're going to try to repeat it. I think Linda, somebody told me, have them repeat it, because not everybody can hear the question, so we know what we're talking about. So, anybody have any questions?
Any question, Gary?
In the back.
How far away can we fish from the Martinez Marina? Can we go to the other side of the Martinez Marina? How far can we go?
How far can we go from the Martinez Marina? You can go all the way up to the Carquinez Bridge. You can go up in the Montezuma Sassoon Slough, which I don't think I would, because it's been kind of quiet up there. You can go to the end of Little Cut, the southeast end of Little Cut, draw a line from there to the White Cranes at Port Chicago, those big white cranes. Of course, if it's foggy, you're not going to see them. But that's the boundaries. Okay. If you call for a fish and you're up there at Pittsburgh, not going to work. It should be on those regulations too that everybody should have got.
How far out in front of Little Cut can we fish?
Little Cut, if you draw the line basically from the end of the island of Little Cut to the Port Chicago Cranes. Okay, I know everybody likes to fish that slot just outside of there, but when we first came up with it, that's how it got drawn up. So that's a good spot outside there. You're basically getting in a Honker's Bay. So.
Jay.
Yeah.
What temperature are you catching fish at?
What temperature is Jay catching fish at?
Well, not just me, but everyone. You know, I have to say anything 50 and above is more consistent. Anything less than 50, their metabolism slows down. They don't need to feed. They're big fish. They got plenty of energy, so they slow down. But anything more than 50, they tend to, bite more. More so for sure.
And on that same note, I'll tell you this part. In our waters that you're going to be fishing tomorrow, in the last week and a half, it's come up in my, everybody's thermometers are a little bit, they're not all calibrated exact, but my temperature has been reading 46 at the beginning, about a little over a week ago. It's come up to about 47.4, 47.5 right now. So in the last week and a half, it's come up about 1.5 degrees. We have a lot of fish in the system. I can tell you, I fished, 4 days last week? A lot of fish in the system. A lot of sitting on them and waiting. If I was targeting sturgeon tomorrow, I'd find a line of fish, sit on them, and I wouldn't move until slack tide. That's me personally. I want as much time on them as I can get.
What does the tide look like tomorrow?
We have good fishable tides. We have a big outgoing tide. Unfortunately, the end of the outgoing tide's been producing. Today there was 2 fish caught. One up toward the sandbar was a 53, and then there was I think a gentleman told me it was a 56, I think, or something, or 58, caught up above the fleet in that area. Yesterday we got one and up over by Seal Island, and that was right at the end of the outgoing tide. Okay, we're not going to get the end of the outgoing tide tomorrow. That's why I'm telling you that. Not really. Actually, I will tell you this. I was kind of surprised on this fish. We fished the end of the outgoing tide, 2.5 hours, and there's a lot of flounder out there. I mentioned that, a lot of small bass. I'd bet $50 that the bite the guy was getting was a flounder. I mean, the rod just went dee-dee-dee, dee-dee-dee, and the older gentlemen jump up and set the hook, and I'm thinking I'm going to shake a flounder and a 53-inch sturgeon. So basically, hook sets are free. If you're not sure, set the hook. What am I wearing tomorrow?
Come on, get us a
Let me ask you this. Who wants to know? Is that the guy in the pink boat? No. That one of those San Francisco boats, Captain Downer? I don't know. We work in San Francisco. We see a lot of those San Francisco boats. Okay, any other questions?
What's your favorite scent? What's your favorite spray on scent?
I'm sorry, favorite spray?
On scent.
On scent? Oh, scent. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You were in San Francisco, man.
What's the favorites? Well, we all have our own opinions. You need to ask these guys individually what to do. My personal experience with using scents can work. People catch fish on scents. Wrong scents can also hurt you and turn fish away. I use scents basically to oil my hands just so I don't contaminate my weights, my leaders, or my bait. I don't really put scents on my bait anymore. I experimented years and years and years, and I've elected to just go back to the natural bait. I do recommend not, if you check your oil on your boat and then you're going to throw your weights on your line, you get engine oil on your weight, that's the beginning of your scent trail when the current goes over it. Not a good thing. Just me personally. And the baits. You guys need to pass this down.
WD-40.
Yeah!
That was a good question.
So Sturgeon Frenzy or any pure anise, I'm a big believer in scent.
Me, I don't believe in scent at all. I use none at all. Natural base only.
Right guard.
Wow! Change your baits every half hour. That's your best scent by far.
The scent I use most is probably Smelly Jelly Eel is my favorite personally. I mean, and change your bait like Jay said.
What are you wearing?
Okay, that was a good example, the opportunity you guys had. Everybody has their own little style, okay? Now's the time to hammer these guys with the questions because you're going to get all these different answers and it might help you decide on what you want to do. Any other questions? Right there in the back.
Best depth.
Best depth, where the fish are. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Where the fish are feeding or sucked up to the bottom.
He's a shallow water fisherman.
Yeah, right. With the tides we got, I'm definitely in shallow water tomorrow.
Same thing. Shallow water, slow, big tide, shallow water, deep water, slow tides.
I'm going to have to agree with them, except I'm going to put one asterisk. Before I got my anchor winch, always shallow water. After I got the anchor winch, deeper water now can apply, only at the end of the tide.
These guys all hit it right on the nose. You know, smaller tides, deeper water, larger tides, shallower water. This time of year, wintertime, I think the larger tides are more productive. Keep it in the mid-range or shallower, you're going to have more success. Fall time, a little deeper water.
What do you call mid-range?
30 foot or deeper, or shallower.
Bob concurs. Okay, you got a question back here.
All right, we have 6 gentlemen here speak of high and low, but nobody gave us that. I mean, shallow water.
Okay, basically the question is, what do we consider shallow? What do we consider deep water? Me personally, shallow water, I'm going anywhere from 12 to 4 feet on big tides. I like going in the shallows and the big tides because during the slower tides, there's really no water movement up there. And then I'll go up there when we get some water movement. Deep water, to me, in the waters I fish, it's going to be different to what these guys fish. you're looking 70, 80, 90 feet of water. Like I'm in the fishing the straits and stuff like that. You can't fish that on a big ripping tide that you got a bowling ball for a weight. And there's fish down there, and you get slower tide, you can get down there to them.
If you look at your meter, you will see a definite water change, and so shallow for me is less than 5 feet. And actually, I'll fish in water shallow as 36 inches. We go way in the back of San Pablo Bay where you can almost see the tops of the fish. So, I mean, as long as there's enough water for the fish to swim, that's shallow water for me.
We probably stay in 9 to 15 feet of water for shallow, and up to about 30, 35. We use real light tackle, so we can't go much more than that.
Yeah, shallow water is like what Mike's talking about. 3 feet of water shallow. Deep water for me, San Pablo Bay, 12 feet. But it depends on the tide too. You know, tide's cooking. You want to be in shallow water. If the tide's after max current, you can go in the deep water. Or you can stay in the shallow water. That's just depends where the fish are at and when they want to bite.
And I'm going to have to agree with a lot of them. And I think a lot of you guys, when you think high-low, you need to look at the speed and look on the side. It says the current tables. And then one other thing for us in San Pablo Bay, we always have to take a little bit into consideration the runoff. Because you can be in other parts of the bay, but if you've got a lot of runoff, you're going to have a lot more current, and the fish may feed in those areas where that runoff affects it.
Right on. But, you know, talk about depth. I agree with what all these gentlemen said. You just got to be in the right spot at the right time. You know, when the tide gets right, no matter if it's deep or shallow, you got to be in a position where you're going to get the fish to bite. And typically, it's going to be at the starts and last of your current. So if you're going to make a move, one thing to touch on, if you're going to make a move when you're looking for fish, do it at max current. Be in a position where you're in a spot when the current's either speeding up or slowing down. That's where you'll kill yourself moving around at the wrong time.
Well, they got me kind of in the spot behind 6 professionals, and you know, we all, yeah, shallow water, 3 feet of water. I've caught fish in shallower where I had to pull my engine, sit there, wait for the tide to come in. You can actually see the tails out of the line. But other than that, deep water up to 90 feet of water we fish. You know, this fall was up in Pittsburgh, 90 feet of water. Other than that, pretty much it.
I just thought of something I got to tell you guys. I know a person that fishes in real shallow water. Give you an example. If anybody you know Sushi Bar, Joe Orlando, okay, this is how he fishes shallow water. He leaves Martinez Marina, and he's got about a 23 foot sea swirl. Nice boat, really nice boat. Goes up the fleet, turns right, buoy 4, goes way up into the sandbar past the Dolphin and Anchors. As the tide goes out, his boat hits the bottom and starts listing to the right. Okay, and he fishes there all night until the tide comes back in and the boat floats again, and then he leaves. That's shallow.
We didn't leave last weekend.
Yeah, last weekend you fished with him, right? Last weekend. Oh, they couldn't leave. Okay, questions? Right here.
Deciding where to put down your anchor, what are you looking for on your fish finder?
When you're deciding to put down your anchor, what do you look for on your fish finder? Again, to be sarcastic, fish.
Fish on the bottom, fish on the top.
Okay, fish on the bottom, fish on the top. What kind of fish you're looking for decides where you're going to drop your anchor.
Well, let's start with the shallow water. Shallow water, you probably won't see them. You'll swoop them out before you even set up on them fish. You got to take pretty much your ability to know where you caught them previously or where you've been told they have been biting. In a spot in shallow water, you want to work around. You don't want to drive them. You're going to be fishing. You want to go around them and come back on and let them feed back to you. In the deeper water, you want to set up on fish that you see actively their nose on the bottom feeding in a good line of them and set up accordingly. In a hole, you want to set up above them, cast back into them.